Some days, life feels like a story you are reading. You turn the page, and everything changes. For me, that day came with a single piece of paper, the divorce papers. They were not just words on a page, they were the end of a chapter, the end of a family as I knew it. Suddenly, the house was not my home. The life I had built was gone. I stood there with nothing but the clothes on my back and a car key in my hand. It was a shock that went deep into my bones. A silence fell over my world. It was the kind of quiet that is louder than any noise. I remember walking out of the door for the last time. The air felt cold. The sun seemed dim. Everything I owned, every memory was left behind. I was not just losing a wife, I was losing my life, I was losing my children. The court said they had to stay with their mother. My heart broke into a million pieces. You think you are strong, you think you can handle anything, but then life hits you with a wave so big it pulls you under. I did not know where to go. I did not know what to do. The only thing I had was my car, and a future that looked like a dark, empty road. The world keeps spinning, even when yours has stopped. People went to work, cars drove by. The world did not notice my pain. I felt invisible, a ghost in my own life. The pain of missing my children was a physical ache. It was a constant companion in those first days. I would close my eyes and see their faces. I would hear their laughter in the wind. Being a father was my identity. It was my greatest joy. Without them, I was just a man with a broken heart. I was lost. It was a loneliness that I would not wish on anyone. A deep, hollow feeling in the center of your chest. But even in the darkest moments, a small light can flicker. A tiny flame of hope. I knew I could not give up. I had to fight. Not for the house, not for the money. I had to fight for my children. They were my reason to breathe. They were my reason to keep going. I made a promise to myself. I would get them back. I would be their father again. I would build a new life for us. This promise was a small seed, but it was enough. It was the start of a long journey. A journey from the bottom, a journey back to the light. I had to believe that better days were coming. My new home had 4 wheels and a steering wheel. I lived in my car. The front seat was my bedroom. The glove compartment was my kitchen drawer. Each night I would find a quiet street to park. I would recline the seat and try to sleep, but sleep was hard to find. The nights were long and cold. I would stare at the ceiling of my car and think about my children. I wondered if they were warm in their beds. I wondered if they were thinking of me. Missing them was a constant heavy weight. It was a sadness that filled every inch of my small metal home. During the day I tried to stay busy. I looked for work. I went to the library to stay warm. I wrote in a small notebook. I wrote down my thoughts, my fears, my hopes. The library was a safe place. It was quiet. It was filled with stories of other people's lives. It reminded me that my story was not over yet. It was just a difficult chapter. The days were a blur of survival. Finding a place to wash up, finding enough money for a cheap meal. Every day was a battle to stay clean, a battle to stay sane, a battle to hold on to hope. The hardest part was the loneliness, watching families walk by in the park, seeing fathers push their children on the swings. It was like looking through a window into a life I once had, a life that felt a million miles away. I would call my children when I could. Hearing their small voices was both a comfort and a pain. It reminded me of what I was fighting for, but it also reminded me of how much I had lost. I had to be strong for them on the phone. I had to pretend everything was okay. I didn't want them to worry. I had to be their rock, even when I felt like I was crumbling. In that car, I learned something important. I learned that when you have nothing, you find out what truly matters. It is not about possessions. It is not about a big house. It is about love. It is about connection. It is about the people who hold a piece of your heart. My children were my treasure, and I would do anything to be with them again. This difficult time was a test. It was forging me into someone stronger, someone more determined. My car was not just a shelter. It became my war room. It was where I planned my comeback, where I planned to win back my life. The journey to get my children back was a mountain. It seemed impossible to climb. There were so many papers to file, so many meetings with lawyers, so many days in court. Every step was a struggle. I had no money, I had no home, but I had determination. I worked any job I could find. I saved every dollar. I spent my nights in the library learning about family law. I was fighting the biggest battle of my life, and I was fighting it for them. I had to show the court that I was a stable and loving father. I had to prove that I could give them a good life. I found a small apartment. It was not much, just a room with a small kitchen, but it was a home. It had 4 walls and a roof. It was a place where my children could come. It was a symbol of progress, a step up from the car. I filled it with secondhand furniture. I painted the walls a bright, happy color. I wanted it to be a cheerful place, a place of new beginnings. Every small victory felt huge. Getting the apartment, finding a steady job in shipping, each step was a brick in the new foundation I was building for our future. I was slowly, carefully, piecing my life back together. The day the judge granted me full custody is a day I will never forget. The world, which had been gray and cold, was suddenly filled with color. It was like the sun coming out after a long storm. When I held my children in my arms, I knew I was home. The fight had been worth it. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, it all melted away. Having them with me was everything. I made a promise to them and to myself. I would dedicate my life to being the best father I could be. My focus was clear. It was them, only them. I decided to stay single. My children needed all of my attention. They had been through so much. I wanted to give them a stable, loving home. I wanted them to feel safe and cherished. My life became about school runs, homework, and bedtime stories. It was about scraped knees and soccer games. It was about building a fortress of love around them. I poured all my energy into them. Giving them 100% was not a sacrifice, it was a privilege. It was the most important job I would ever have, and it was the source of my greatest happiness. With my children as my motivation, my life began to flourish. My career in the shipping industry grew. I worked hard. I was reliable. I learned everything I could. Success at work was not just about money, it was about providing for my family. It was about showing my children the value of hard work and dedication. I found a rhythm, a balance between my job and my life as a single father. We were a team. We faced the world together. Our small family was strong. We had been through the fire and come out together on the other side. In the quiet hours after the children were asleep, I started to write. I wrote down my story. I wrote about the pain and the struggle, but I also wrote about the hope and the triumph. Writing became a way to heal. It was a way to make sense of everything that had happened. I published my books. I never expected them to be successful. I just wanted to share my story. I hoped it might help someone else who was going through a hard time. To my surprise, people connected with my words. They found inspiration in my journey. This success was a gift, an unexpected blessing. Now, as I look back, I see the importance of having goals. When I was in my car, my goal was to get my children back. When I had them, my goal was to be a great father. Then, it was to build a career. Then, to write a book. Having a goal gives you a direction. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It pulls you forward even when you feel stuck. A positive outlook is just as important. You have to believe that things can get better. You have to look for the good, even when it is hard to find. Staying busy and staying positive keeps your mind and spirit young. Life is a journey of chapters. Some are sad, some are happy. The key is to keep turning the page. Do not be afraid to try new things. Do not be afraid to start over. Every day is a new opportunity to build a better life. Look forward, not back. The past is a lesson, not a life sentence. If you keep moving, keep trying, and keep believing in yourself, you will find your way. Your story is not over. The best chapters may still be unwritten, and that is a beautiful thing. Life gets better when you stay positive and never, ever give up.